So in the last class, you understood that series compensated line or line compensation and its limitations. The main drawbacks of the series compensated line, the very first one is ferroresonance, due to which it will develop very high voltage during fault conditions and damages the compensator. Second one is subsynchronous resonance due to torsional oscillations and electromechanical resonances, which will damage the generator shaft. So this is also a major drawback of the series compensated line. So therefore, fixed series compensation has a limitation up to 40 to 50% compensation only. So beyond which the compensator will not work if it is a fixed compensation. So therefore, we'll go for controlled compensation. We'll discuss later. Now coming to the load compensators or shunt compensators, you have the generator connected to the transmission line and supplying a load. So bus 1 and bus 2. At bus 1 generator is there, bus 2 load is there. At bus 2 we have the compensator, that is the best location of the compensator for radial line. As we are aware of that. So in the previous classes we have discussed why it is so. Now let us analyze this compensated system or load compensator. When the compensator is placed at the load point, so let us have, this is the nominal pi model. So why nominal pi model is chosen? So anybody can answer my question. You have more number of buses or nodes due to T line. If you consider the T line, it leads to more number of buses or nodes. So therefore, we need to consider the nominal pi model. So in the nominal pi model, number of nodes can be decreased. Okay, and hence you prefer the nominal pi model. So let us take the nominal pi model. So in which you have half of the admittance is concentrated at sending end and half of the admittance is concentrated at the receiving end, and impedance is concentrated at the middle of the line. The load is connected at the terminals and also compensator is placed at the load terminals, and when you have the equations, sending in voltage Vs is equal to AVR plus BIR without compensator. In the second case, AVR plus B into I with compensator. So I is the summation of IR and IC. IC is the compensator current that you need to understand. Right? Now let us consider without compensation. This is the phasor diagram. VR is the receiving end voltage. IR is the receiving end current. IC2 is the current through the admittance concentrated at the receiving end, and you add up that current so that you will get the I. That I is nothing but current through the series branch, that is the impedance of the line. So impedance has two components, resistance and reactance. IR drop is the resistance. That resistance drop is in phase with the current I, as shown in the phasor diagram, and with 90 degrees leading, Ix drop is there. So this is the Ix drop. With 90 degrees you draw the Ix drop and join this terminal point and initial point, you will get the sending end voltage Vs, and the angle between Vs and Vr is delta for the uncompensated line, for loaded line. Okay. Now coming to the second part, the same line, the same system is compensated with the shunt compensator is placed at the receiving end. Now the current supplied by the shunt compensator is IC. It is adding with the IC2, so that IC plus IC2 is the total compensated current that you should add to the IR. You will get I. Now the current I is summation of IR, IC2 and IC. Now it is I is leading with the VR. Therefore, IR drop is also in phase with the current I. Red color IR drop, black color is IX drop, 90 degrees leading with the IR. So therefore, if you join the initial and final points, you will get VS, the sending end voltage. So you can adjust the compensator such that if you draw an arc with the VS radius, it will touch at point VR. Therefore, VS is equal to VR. This is the compensated line for voltage profile improvement or voltage control. The one of the objective of the shunt compensator is controlling the voltage. That is very important. Okay. So therefore, you need to have the equal voltages at sending end and receiving end, so that you will have same voltage with the help of shunt compensator. Shunt compensator. And hence shunt compensator is more effective for voltage control. It is very first point. So the same thing is expressed once again here. Shunt compensator is placed at bus 2 and I is equal to IR plus IC2 plus IC, and IC is equal to, where IC is equal to V by XC. XC is the reactance offered by compensator, capacitive reactance. The QC is the reactive power, that is QC is equal to V into IC, and IC is equal to V by XC. Therefore, QC is equal to V square by XC. The reactive power supplied by the compensator is QC. Anyhow, the phasor diagram is as usual, the previous one. So this is the load compensator and its significance. So coming to the second objective of your compensator, second objective, this is the active power required by the load. So this is the reactive power required by the load or drawn by the load. And third one, this is the KVA demand of the load. KVA demand of the load, where you have generator and we have bus 1, bus 2, and here is the load, and across the load you have the compensator. You have the compensator. So the current supplied by the compensator is IC. So this is IC. Now here it is bus number 1, bus number 2, this is compensator C. So compensator C. So this is the reactive power demand PD, and reactive power demand QD and KVA demand SD is the demand of your load. SD is the load demand, right? This is the generator. This G is the generated power. Generator supplies the power. Now, in the previous slide, you have seen that this is the QC. QC is equal to V square by XC, and hence this QC you need to draw here. So this is a reactive power. So if you supply a reactive power exactly equal to QD, then what happens? Both will cancel each other. Q, QC. When QC is equal to QD, it leads to unity power factor, UPF operation. UPF operation. Or if you want to control the voltage such that sending end voltage equal to receiving end voltage, Vs is equal to Vr, that is a perfect voltage regulation. That is another effective point. And here the power factor can be controlled very easily with the help of shunt compensator. Compared to the previous compensator, series compensator, you can control the, so this is pi is the power factor angle. So therefore you can control the power factor of the system with the help of shunt compensator. Okay, and hence the effectiveness of the shunt compensator for the power factor improvement is most effective than that of the series compensator. That is another important point. So coming to the next point of your load compensators, the power angle curves and PV curves. In the power angle curves, you have P1, P2, P3. So when P1 is equal to P2 is equal to P1 is equal to V1 V2 by X sine delta. So V2 can be improved with the help of compensator, and hence P2 is equal to V1 V2 by X V2 dash now. V2 dash is voltage improvement with the help of shunt compensator, and P3 is equal to V1 V2 double dash by X sine delta. So that in general the voltage of the system, so this is the V1, this is the voltage across the load bus is V2. So in general the V1 and V2, the variation between V1 and V2 maximum in transmission is maximum 10 to 12%. So therefore shunt compensator can improve that voltage approximately, let us take 10% variation. So therefore there is a variation of plus or minus 5%. Plus or minus 5%. Or in transmission it may be plus or minus 10%. Plus or minus 10%. Therefore the V2 variation may be 10%. 10%. Therefore the power improvement in the power angle, the power variation may be maximum 10%. Second one is 5%, third one is 10%. Therefore, the steady state stability limit can be improved up to that percentage. maximum allowable loading can be improved up to that percentage. Okay. So therefore, the effectiveness of the compensator for the improvement of transient stability or angle stability compared to the same capacity of the series compensator is lower than that of the series compensator. It is less compared to the series compensator. Therefore, the series compensator is much more effective for improvement of stability than shunt compensator. That is the important conclusion. Not only that, even the voltage stability also, stability point of view, the series compensator is more effective, even for voltage stability. When there is a 5% variation, 10% variation. Here also you can look at the PV curves. So therefore, the available margin can be improved 5% or 10% respectively. And hence, for stability issue, series compensator is more effective than the shunt compensator. Line compensator is most effective than the load compensator. So therefore, let us go for comparison of series and shunt compensators. So when you connect the capacitor in series with the line, you have voltage drop I into XC, that is the voltage improvement by the series capacitor. So it's self-regulatory and it affects only in that line. Therefore, the effect is local. Whereas compensator, when you connect it in interconnected power system, so you have placed at the load of the radial line. Now, when you place it in interconnected power system, so suppose let us have the interconnected power system. So here you can have here many of the generators are connected together with the help of transmission lines. So, so in interconnected power system, you have many generators are connected together to form interconnected power system, where you have many loads are there, lines as well as generators. If you connect this kind of system, now you can place the compensator at a particular point. So let us have compensator at a particular point here. So obtained from different methods, you can have uh, finding the optimal location of the compensator with the help of some methods like PSO, particle form optimization, or GA, genetic algorithm, or any classical method, with the help of stability indices. So in all such cases, you have the compensator location at different places. So there are two generators and many loads, one, two, three loads, and all are connected with the help of compensator. So this is L1, L2, L3. At load 2, you place the compensator. By placing this compensator here, not only this part of the system, the other parts of the system will also be get affected. So there is an improvement in L2 as well as L3 bus voltages. Therefore, the effect of shunt compensator is global, and hence, so the effect of series compensator is local. It is only to that line. The effect is only for that line. For shunt compensator, the effect is not only to that bus but also adjacent buses. It is global. And the reactive power supplied by the series capacitor is I square Xc, shunt capacitor is V square by Xc. I is varying from 0 to maximum, and V is varying only 10% variation. Therefore, the reactive power supplied by the capacitor, series capacitor, is self-regulatory as well as much more affected by the load current. Whereas shunt capacitor, V is the terminal voltage. This voltage, the variation is very low, and hence the effect of the load is very low compared to series compensator, and hence shunt compensator is much more effective for the load variation. This is another important point. So you need to summarize all these points and compare them. The next point is the improvement in voltage stability is more effective for the case of series compensation. Similarly, the angle stability, transient stability is also much more effective for the series compensator compared to shunt compensator. So therefore, the effect of series capacitor and stability is very high compared to the shunt compensator. This is another important point, and one of the distincted point between these two compensators. Very important point, right? Please make a note. Already explained the detailed explanation. So coming to next point, so series compensator will have limitations because of the drawbacks, ferro resonance as well as subsynchronous resonance. Therefore, the maximum allowable fixed series compensation is up to 40%, 40 to 50 maximum. Okay, no such limitation for the shunt compensator. You can operate the shunt compensator up to unity power factor, power factor. And the power factor improvement of the shunt compensator much more effective than that of the series compensator. Much more effective than that of the series compensator. Still, if you have any questions, please ask the questions. Otherwise, we'll go to the next topic. Hemant, Jayant, Kavita,
It is clear, sir.
okay, right. Any questions or any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, right. Lavanya,
No doubt, sir.
Lavanya, is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Right. So, like that, you can understand the concepts and compare both the compensators. This is also very important question. Not only these highlighted points, some more points you can add and perform in the examinations. If the question appears, to compare the series and shunt compensators in different aspects. Okay, so this is about your series and shunt compensators. Now coming to the next topic of our topic, very important topic. One one important point is fixed series compensation is not capable to supply required compensation more than 50% compensation. In that case, what to do? So immediately you need to go for the advanced controllers like PAX devices, like PAX devices. Not only that, when you consider the shunt compensator, the power factor of the shunt compensator system can be improved with the shunt compensator, but the load on the system is varying from 0 to maximum limit. Therefore, at light loaded conditions, you sense the Ferranti effect at the receiving end points. Therefore, the receiving end voltage is higher than that of the sending end voltage. You need to compensate inductive. You need to provide the inductive compensation at the load terminals, not the capacitive compensation. Therefore, if you place the fixed capacitor as a shunt compensator at the load terminal, it will further enhances the Ferrand effect problem and further improves the receiving end voltage. It may be more than 12% variation, plus 12% variation. Therefore, that system is not acceptable in any in all conditions. Therefore, you need to go for control shunt compensation. So, control shunt compensation is also provided with the synchronous phase modifier (SPM). So, but you have limitations for the SPM. Very first one is it will feed the fault current during fault conditions, and it may fall out of step or lose the synchronism during fault conditions. These two are major limitations of the synchronous phase modifier, and it has the rotating parts in it, and you need to supply the losses of the synchronous phase modifier under all conditions. That is also a major drawback. All these drawbacks leading to the leading to that SPM may not be suitable for many more applications, and hence you need to go for advanced compensators to fax devices. In early fax devices are variable impedance type fax controllers, that is SPC. Shunt compensator is SPC, series compensator is PCSC. So what is SPC? Static var compensator. So static var compensator will have two kind of compensators, FCTCR and TSC-TCR. What is FCTCR? Fixed capacitor and thyristor control reactor. A parallel combination of these two. And second category, thyristor switched capacitor and thyristor control reactor. The second category is more controlled than the first one, and hence it is more suitable for many of the applications. That is the first category, early fax device of the system. Now, recent fax devices are converter-based compensators. you are familiar with the voltage source converters or current source converters. Mostly, we will prefer the voltage source converters for power system applications. And in converter based type, you have hybrid H-bridge type converters or multi-level converters used as STATCOM and UPFC or SSC. So shunt controller is STATCOM, series controller is SSC, and combined controller is UPFC. So therefore, you have many of the fax devices in your hand to choose properly. So that is the converter based compensators. The dynamic performance of the converter based compensators are superior than that of the previous device, that is variable impedance type or early fax device, SPC. So that is beyond our scope. If you want to understand this, you can refer my YouTube channel VENUYR, in which you have fax videos are there, which start for MTech. You can refer those videos. All right. Now let us focus on that SPC. So SPC, in SPC, so one of the devices FCTCR type device, in which, so this is the high voltage line to which coupling transformer is connected between the SPC and high voltage line. Here it is the medium voltage. At the medium voltage bus, you have connected the SPC. The SPC has the combination of fixed capacitor FC and TCR, thyristor control reactor, and fixed capacitor IC supplies fixed capacitor supplies current IC to the system, and TCR will supply the current ITCR to the system. And the ITCR is a function of alpha firing angle of anti-parallel combination of thyristors. So therefore, Xc is the function of alpha and it is varying with the alpha. Thereby, you can control the ITCR also. And hence you can provide the controlled current. IC minus ITCR is the total current feed by the SPC to the system. So you can design the TCR such that during light loaded conditions, you can provide the inductive compensation, not the capacitive compensation. All right. So therefore, controlled compensation is provided, and for fixed capacitor, sized controlled reactor type SPC, the capacity of the TCR or size of the TCR is bulky, and ITCR is nonlinear current, which is the function of alpha, and hence it injects the harmonics to the system. So therefore, SPC not only provide the compensation but also introduces the harmonics into the system, so that if you want to reduce those harmonics, you need to go for harmonic filters, both active and passive filters. So or you can provide a TSC-TCR type compensator such that the fixed capacitor can be broken into number of TSCs, and those are operated as on and off control, and thereby you can reduce the size of the TCR, and hence the harmonic content can also be decreased. The THD content of the SPC can also be decreased. So that is one of the implementation for reduction of harmonics. The other implementation is beyond our scope. Anyhow, you can refer my videos for that. Now, second part is the VI characteristics of the SPC. Now, x-axis, positive side inductive current IL, negative side capacitive current IC. This is the red color is the linear part of your VI characteristic, and blue color is operating part of the VI characteristic. You need to operate the system at plus or minus 10% voltage variation in the transmission network, right? So therefore, it is allowable. So beyond which you cannot operate the SPC. If you operate SPC at fault conditions, the per unit, here it is, the crossing point is 1 pu. So here it is starting from 0. So during fault conditions, during fault conditions, the operating voltage may be very low value, 0.3, 0.2, 0.4, like that. During that conditions, the performance of the SPC static var compensator is very poor. Therefore, it is not suitable for the dynamic performance improvement. Thereby, you can go for the latest model or modern controller, that is converter-based controller, that is STATCOM. So this is the functioning of SPC. So this coupling transformer will reduce the operating voltage of the SPC, which is highly demanded. All right. An anti-parallel combination of the thyristors will provide the controlled inductive current, which will compensate the capacitive current. Because when the load on the system changes, the reactive power demand also changes. For the variable reactive power demand, you need to provide the controlled current, which is provided by the thyristors. That's why it is also known as static compensator, static var compensator. So this is early fax device. That's why it is using the thyristors or SCRs. So in modern controllers, STATCOM will go for IGBTs or GPUs. So that is the major advantage of STATCOM compared to the SPC. So anybody want to do the projects in this area, you can choose shunt compensators as well as series compensators, in which you can go for SPC as well as STATCOM. And series compensators, you can go for CCC as well as TCC. So all these are the various type of fax devices which are useful for improvement of power system performance in all aspects. That you can refer my videos. So many objectives are there, shunt compensator as well as series compensator. You can go for YouTube and you can type BENUIR. You can go for fax. You can find more than 50 videos in which you can have fax videos also. You can refer that. Anybody is interested. And you can also refer the Hingrani textbooks for fax controllers if you want to study well or beyond your syllabus. So therefore, next one is STATCOM, and very important. So you are familiar with the synchronous phase modifier or synchronous condenser, in which the bus is connected through the transformer, coupling transformer, and this is the synchronous motor, then operating at no load. So therefore, you need to supply the no load power, that is no load loss, to the synchronous machine, already explained. And the machine has some reactance, and IF can be controlled with the help of field regulator. So by controlling the IF, you can control the QSPM, reactive power supplied by the synchronous phase modifier. During over-excited mode, it acts as capacitor. Under-excited mode, it acts as inductor. During normal excitation, it may be floating condition. It neither consumes the reactive power nor supplies the reactive power. But of course, it can be tuned by changing the field regulator of the synchronous machine. But the only thing is, you have so many disadvantages. The functioning is very well known to you, that is QSPM is equal to EV by X cos delta minus V square by X. Now V by X can be taken as common. Now E cos delta minus V, so cos delta for no load operation approximately can take it equal to 1. Therefore, V by X into E minus V. When E is more than V for overexcited mode, it acts as capacitor, and when E is less than V in underexcited mode, it operates as inductor. So thereby it will supply both leading as well as lagging reactive power to the system. So and hence the SPM is more suitable. But of course it has so many drawbacks. Very first one is it will feed the fault current during fault conditions. It may fall out of step or lose the synchronism during fault conditions. and you need to supply the no load losses to the system. That is another disadvantage. Due to these disadvantages, so you need to supply losses to SATCOM also. But of course, compared to SPM, the SATCOM losses are very low. So therefore, you can go for SATCOM. The functioning is similar to that of the SPM. So now the bus is connected to the SATCOM through coupling transformer. So you can also talk over, and the coupling the overall reactance of the STATCOM can be X. So therefore, 2 VSC voltage source converter equal to V by X. You can take common into V naught minus V. V naught is the output voltage of the STATCOM or VSC, and V is the terminal voltage. When V naught is greater than V, it acts as capacitor, and V naught is less than V, it acts as inductor. So thereby it can supply both leading as well as lagging reactive power to the system when it is needed. So the control is possible with the help of PWM, uh, pulse width modulation. The other thing is you can also control the VDC and voltage control. These two controls are provided for the VSC to control the QVSC. Okay, it is similar to that of synchronous condenser. Okay, and it is a static device. There are no rotating parts. Only IGBTs or GTOs are there as a switching devices. So when you operate the STATCOM as an inductor, so it is like this. The voltage V naught and IL. The IL is 90 degrees lagging with the V naught operating voltage or output voltage of the STATCOM. When it is operating as a capacitor, so V naught is their reference, and IC is 90 degrees leading with the V naught. When you provide the equivalent of STATCOM, it has controlled inductance and controlled capacitance. Therefore, V is the reference, V naught is a reference, IL is a variation like this. It is a locus of the current locus can be drawn like this. So it has wide range of control, over current. Therefore, over reactive power, right? So when the when the VI characteristics of the STATCOM are considered, I will explain that. Now I will explain that VI characteristics of STATCOM. So when you consider the VI characteristics of STATCOM, it has leading side and lagging side. Or in fact, you can have this is the VI characteristics during light load conditions. Okay, during light load condition, this is the characteristic. Now, during the linear zone of operation, allowable range of voltage is here, like in SVC. So this is the positive x-axis is IL. This is IL. So negative x-axis is IC. Negative axis is IC. Here this is IC maximum, IL maximum. You can observe one thing, even during fault conditions, suppose if the voltage is 0.3 or 0.4, then also the current supplied by the compensator is IC only. There won't be any change. So therefore, the effectiveness of the STATCOM during disturbed conditions or dynamic conditions, it is more superior than that of the SPC. So therefore, you can have the VI characteristics of STATCOM much more superior to that of the SVC. The linear operating zone during steady state operation, both are similar, both SVC and STATCOM. During dynamic conditions only, it is more beneficial. These are the VI characteristics of STATCOM. VI characteristics of STATCOM. This is per unit voltage, crossing point 1 pu. 1 pu, right? So below 1 pu, also it is supplying same amount of current IC. Okay. So this is the VI characteristics of the STATCOM. Today I'll stop here, and you can discuss if you have any questions. And thank you one and all.